Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 8 of Philosophonics, magic number 8. We are in a leap year. You guys, today is a leap day. Everybody go wild. Hope you all have had a wonderful leap day today. And we will be going into March tomorrow. Crazy that we're already in March of this year. So it's been a lovely journey having you guys along for Philosophonics. We've been through so much stuff already. And tonight we are going to continue on from last week with the topic of reading music. It is really, really cool to be able to share this part of music with you all. And like I said last week, being able to read a little bit of sheet music really opens up a whole new world. And speaking of new worlds, as you guys can see, I am here in the forest. I've noticed this trend of musicians doing songs in the forest, and so I thought I would do my original music tonight in the forest, just so I can, say that I'm part of the forest video people. So, yeah, as usual, you guys probably know the format by now, but if not, I'll play a couple songs for you guys. Then we'll go into the chat and about reading music. Then I'll play a couple covers, and lastly, we'll end it out with a meditation. So, hope you guys have all been having a wonderful start to your week. We are almost actually to the weekend, so we're past midweek at this point. Who knows what day it is? It's a leap year day, so it's crazy. But yeah, on that note, here in this lovely forest, I am going to get started with a couple originals tonight for you all that I don't play very often. So I will be playing a song that, let's just call it Hero for now. I don't know what it's actually called. It doesn't have a name yet. And then a song called Test and another one called Stories Take Time. So strap in. I've got a lot of technology going on tonight, especially during the chat part. So we are pushing all my computers and gear to the limit. It should be fun, and prayers that it just works. All right, here we go, you guys. Here is Hero and the lovely forest for you all. I can't solve all your problems, only offer you a song. When the world is weighing heavy on your shoulders, I'll write melodies that help us get along. And I ain't got no more songs about breakup, and I'm done sharing my pain. So I guess I am just here for the music. What it does to me, I cannot explain. But I can't be your hero. I'm only one solitary girl with her fingers 'cause each day brings me to death. So I guess I will just stand here on this stage and give you everything that I got left. But I can't be your hero. I'm only one solitary girl with her fingers always on the piano, praying for a better Don't you worry about what you see. The sun will rise and the tide meet the sea. Jump off the cliff and you might find your feet. Calm all the lies, 'cause we bleed the beat. Fundamental soldier, you know this well. Been through this shit, been through hell. You were a child, I could not know they meant well, but you had to go to other places. Plant your seed, sing your song, just to feel free with what they offered. You could not grow those shallow walls, could not be home. Don't you worry about what you see. The sun will rise and the tide meet the sea. Jump off the cliff and you might find your feet. Calm all the lies, 'cause we bleed the beat. You fill up your mind 'cause it just isn't time to bow to culture. You lose your mind, it's the answer to what you seek. Wipe off your hands, the melody's clean. Wipe off your hands, start to be free. Ba 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 ba, ba da 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 da. Ha. Don't you worry about what you see. The sun will rise and the tide meet the sea. Jump off the cliff and you might find your feet. Calm all the lies, 'cause we bleed the beat. Don't you worry about what you see. The sun will rise and the tide meet the sea. Jump off the cliff and you might find your feet. Calm all the lies, 'cause we bleed the beat. All right, this last one, I gotta change my tempo real quick. Give me 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves in the forest. Also, thank you for watching, you guys. So these are the times where I really miss having a band because, of course, they can fill in all the rhythm stuff. So love you guys. In case you didn't know, my band, they're collectively called the Divine Anthology. It's like this group of incredible musicians that's played with me throughout the years. So there's like a nice little list of them. Love them. All right, I think I did this right. Yes. Oh, the tempo change. All right, cool. Well, I don't walk around to hear the sound of my feet. And there is a reason I smile on the street. And sometimes just I hide inside. But the power that's deep, so I go for a ride. Flashback, I was just a child, didn't understand about the great big system. Small town, couldn't see so far, so I began to sing. Standards, hypocrites for miles, smoke summer in the public school. Music was the only way that I could possibly escape. Notes took place, rhythm took shape, melodies formed the lines upon my face. Don't you know that stories take time? This you will find. And it is your pen that's writing it, honey. It's not about fame and it's not about money, 'cause stories take time. Oh, give it all up, child, now's your time. 'Cause if you don't, you'll be next in line. And those are your feet and those are your hands. You gotta keep them moving as fast as you can. Keep them moving as fast as you can. Starts off slow and the rhythm takes control. You can feel it in the body, you can feel it in the soul. Yes, it starts off slow and the rhythm takes control. And if you wanna be free, then you gotta let it flow. Don't you know that stories take time? This you will find. And it is your pen that's writing it, honey. It's not about fame and it's not about money, 'cause stories take time. All right, you guys. Playing in the forest, a little bit of songs that I never play, obviously because I don't have a band right now. So yeah, but that's a old one that I wrote when I was living in London, and it kind of goes into tonight about things take time. Yeah. All right. Let me get my little chat background up. Boom. All right, you guys. So last week we talked about the very, very basics of reading music notation. And tonight we are going to continue on and go a little bit deeper into that topic. So, a couple things I want to sort of review on, and also that I did not talk about last time that are sort of related to rhythm and pitch that we talked about last time, is the rest, which I just drew ghetto rest last time for you guys, but I have an actual image. So we'll start with that guy. All right, so as we talked about last time, we talked about the pizza and the whole note being the whole pizza and the half note being half of the pizza and the eighth note being the eighth of the pizza, etc., etc. We talked about 4/4 time signature. So on this image, don't freak out. There is another thing above the whole note that is longer, and it is called a double whole note. And it basically gets twice the duration of the whole note. So if the whole note gets 1, 2, 3, 4, right? We talked about the 4 beats per measure. Then the double whole note gets 8 beats. And it's really not used too often. So it's not going to be in a lot of the standard charts, but it is in this one. So just so that you know what it looks like a whole note and it has lines on either side of it. Boom. That is a double whole note. And now we can see the rest that correspond to the length of the notes we learned last week. So to the right of the quarter note, you'll see the whole note, or I'm sorry, I'm reading and talking different things. To the right, you guys will see the rest, right? What they look like for each duration. So the whole rest looks like a, you're handing your hat out for tips. The half is like a hat is on. And then the quarter, which I so gettily drew last week, actually looks like that. And then below it, you'll see the 8th rest and the 16th rest, right? So I just wanted to kind of briefly touch on that to show you what those rests actually look like. There they are. And for each note rhythm, like the half, quarter, eighth, etc., there is, like I said, the corresponding amount of silence, the rest, right? So there are those for you guys. That's one thing I wanted to touch on really quickly. Another thing that I wanted to touch on as far as rhythm and notes is the dot. So we have this little guy. It's a period. It's a dot. We call it the dot. And it can go after any of the note rhythms that we learned. So on this chart, you can see it going after all of them. The whole note, the half note, the quarter, the eighth, and the 16th. So, and you can also see the corresponding rest, right? And what the dot does, let's say that let's work with the half note first, right? So the half note, half of the pizza, 2 halves equals the whole pizza. You guys with me? Also feel free, as usual, to put your questions, comments, and concerns in the chat. I can see it tonight nice and clear. So we're looking at the half note. All right. As you can see, the half note in this image has a dot after it. And the dot means take the duration of that note, right? Which the half note is 2 beats. 1, 2. Then you're going to add, the dot always means add a duration of whatever the note is before it. Okay, so don't let your mind think too much about it. It's not that crazy. If you have 2 beats for the half note, right? What is half of 2 beats? What's half of 2? 1. Good job, everyone. Be real proud of yourself. So you're going to add 1 more beat. That dot at the end means add 1 more beat to it. So all of a sudden, that half note is going to become the dotted half note, and it is going to get 3 beats instead of 2 if it didn't have the dot, right? And we can look above the half note to the whole note, right? So whole note has how many beats? 4. And if we add a dot at the end of it, it's going to be add half of to what you already have. So half of 4 is 2. Good job, you guys. And so you would do 4 for the normal whole note, plus, since it has the dot, 2 more beats, which would mean it gets 6 beats. It gets a little bit trickier when you go to the right. So it's like quarter, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But if we're adding the dot, what is half of 1? It is a half, right? Like, well, in fraction terms. What's half of a quarter note in music? It's the eighth note, right? We get 2 eighth notes per quarter. So on the dotted quarter note is what we call it. We will add an eighth note to that, which can be kind of crazy. And as you go down, we start the same process. So on our eighth note, half of an eighth note is there's 2 16 notes in an eighth note, right? So we're going to have an eighth note plus a 16th. And that chart just kind of shows you that. If you were to go in smaller and smaller things like the 16th note, 32nd note, doing a dot on that is like pretty advanced, right? So you're probably going to see a fair share of dotted eighth notes and dotted quarters and dotted half notes. You probably won't see a lot of dotted whole notes, but yeah, those like dotted 30 seconds and stuff, that's like kind of bougie, right? That's a fancy pants. All right, so there is the dot. So let me do an example of like a dotted rhythm. So if we had 4, if we're in 4 beats per measure and the quarter note is getting our beat, right? 4/4 time time signature. We're counting 1, 2, 3. Ooh, let me put it back on piano rather than this lovely little clavichord. We're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, right? That's our quarter notes. Quarter, 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 quarter. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if I were to do the rhythm of a dotted half note and 1 quarter, that would equal 4 as well. So that would fill up the whole 4/4 measure. Let me take the dotted picture off. I always forget to take the images off. All right. So that rhythm, if we're counting 1, I'm just going to play the quarter note with this hand just to keep it steady. 3, 4, 1. Here goes my dotted half. 1, 2, 3, and a quarter. 1. I just made up that rhythm, right? But you can see it gets the dotted half note gets 3 beats, just like we talked about, right? So you add half of the note value to already the note value. Whoever came up with this crazy, but that's how it goes. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 dotted quarter. Right? Okay, so that is your dotted notes and rest. And this is basically just an introduction to those things. Of course, if you want to get really, really fluent with it, just like any language, you would practice and use it a lot. So that's why I want to play that Stories Take Time song, because it does take time. So don't get frustrated if, it takes a minute to sink in and it takes a minute for your brain to learn to process these types of rhythms, right? That's the main thing. Don't get frustrated. Just maybe write some rhythms. Try little rhythms out. Okay. So now into the new content tonight. What are we going to talk about tonight? The first times to do notation. And I believe this is going to work to have it come up right here. Boom. Okay, so this is MuseScore. It's actually a free program. So if you're interested, you can download it for yourself on your computer, and you can do the same things I'm doing. So what I want to start with looking at is called time signatures. So the 4/4 that we talk about is part of a time signature. It is a time signature, 4/4. And we say it the top number, the bottom number, right? So 4/4, we don't say that. We just say 4/4 time signature. Okay? And where that's going to show up, last week, we learned about the treble and the bass clef. There's our clefs and our staff, as you can see. And it is going to, and you can see my whole note rest because nothing is there yet, right? I haven't put any notes in. So I've got the hat looking for tips. The whole note rest is in every measure right now. I don't know why that one line is appearing darker than the others, but that is not usually the case. So if that's the way it looks for you guys, just ignore the bolder line. They should all be the same. All right, so in MuseScore, they make it really easy. And I'm going to come over here to the left, and I have a whole category called time signatures. All right, so I'm going to talk about a couple other common ones. I'm just going to drag it and drop it. Whoa, look at that. So now I have changed it to 2/4, okay? So that is this is actually called cut time. I probably shouldn't have gone to this first. I'm just going to briefly talk about it. It's 2 beats per measure and the quarter note gets a beat. Okay. I'm not going to go into cut time, I don't think, tonight because I want to do basic time signatures. So 2/4, boom, it exists. That's 2 quarter notes, right? Per measure. And the quarter note gets a beat, essentially. All right. If you guys know a cut time, you know why I'm avoiding it right now. All right, but let's talk about this guy. 3/4, right? You guys probably know this guy as a waltz. There are 3 quarter notes and per measure. No, three quarter notes per measure. The quarter note gets a beat, right? So we're counting instead of to 4, we're counting to 3 now. And that would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? And now that I have this up for you guys, it's cool because I can put some notes in. So I am going to put 3 quarter notes. Actually, let me get my keyboard real quick. All right, now I can do it. I'm going to put 3. I think you guys can hear that too. I'm not quite sure. But anyway, so there are my 3 little quarter notes per beat, right? So that would sound like 1, 2, 3, 1. There's just 3 of them, right? 1, 2, 3. Got it? All right. So that is another of the time signatures, 3/4, also known as the waltz. And now let me just get rid of those notes. See what happened when I deleted that 1 quarter note? It made a quarter note rest. Watch, it's going to do it again. Now, you would really never see 3 quarter note rest. You would probably more likely see the whole rest. And the whole rest is used sometimes no matter what the time signature is. It just means the whole measure is silent, right? So it doesn't always mean 4. I know that's a little bit confusing, but you'd more than likely see in a measure of rest the whole rest being used rather than the 3 quarter notes. All right, so that's 3/4. Got it, cool kids? Awesome. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now here I go. I'm gonna do a different one. All right, this is gonna be a new thing for you guys. What? 3/8. Huh? What happened to 4 on the bottom? Well, sometimes we need to notate music where we can use not the quarter note as our beat. All right. It's for different logistical reasons. But when we do need to use a smaller duration for the beat, we often use the eighth note then, right? That's the next smallest thing to use for the beat. So this is 3/8 notes per measure. All right. Ashleigh, what does that sound like? Do we count the Andes and the things between the numbers? Actually, no. Well, sort of, we do. So now let me show you what that would look like. Easy peasy. All right. Now there is 3/8 notes. Don't worry about how they're beamed together. We use that beaming up top in different ways, right? To kind of show when things connect together. And what's important to notice is just that there is one beam, right? If it was a 16th note, it would have 2 beams. So for the next measure, check this out. I'll do a measure of 16th notes. How many is going to go in there? What's half of an 8th note? 16th, right? So there's going to be twice as many, right? So do you see how those have 2 beams? That's telling us it's a 16th note, all right? They may or may not be connected, but the point is it's a 16th note if it has 2 rows of beams, 8th note if it has 1 row of beams. All right, so how we count that, some people can count it still in 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? Just like we did the 3, 4 time signature, which is crazy that you count them the same way, right? Or we could also count them 1 and 2 and 3 and when I'm changing like the 2, 3 and that's like the measure number, right? So if I just stay on a 1 and it'd be 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and right? 3/8 notes. Okay. So that is the 8th note getting the duration. And as you can see, if I were to play this rhythm, if I'm counting 1 and 2, go. 1, right? I'm just going to repeat it a couple times so you can hear it. 1 and 1 and 2. 1 and 2. It's hard for me to do it at the same, right? Okay. And just like the top one, I could do the bottom. There's my 16th aroma, 6 of them, right? All right, cool. So that is 3/8. Now, we are going to move on to something that is called compound meters, okay? So, time signature can also be called the meter. What meter is it in, right? They're both, just like I said last week, just different words for the same thing, which is that number that's telling us how many beats per measure on the top and what note duration gets a beat on the bottom. So far, we have talked about what we call simple meters. Oh, sweet. I'm glad you guys can hear the little ditty. Cool. Hi, Julie. Welcome. Welcome tonight. So far, yes, we have talked about what is called a simple meter. What that means is that I'm only counting to 3 or to 4 one time, right? So I'm counting either 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's simple meter, right? When you're just only counting it, it's only separated into kind of that one group. There are things called a complex meter. All right. And yeah, just get it, like, be patient with yourself letting this sink in. complex meter, check out what I'm going to do now, okay? So I'm going to drag, this is a compound. Is it compound meter or complex? Who knows? It's one or the other. Geez, you would think like I know what I'm doing. I think it's compound meter because you're compounding. So if you'll check out what just happened when I dragged the 6/8 instead of the 3/8 there, it got rid of a measure. Let me undo so you can watch it again. There's our 3/8, right? 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to go back and do it again. Change it to 6/8. Okay, it got rid of that bar line. The reason why, bonus points if you already know, it's because instead of there being 3/8 notes per measure, now we have 6/8 notes per measure. Okay? And this is an example of a compound meter. And why it is compound is because when we count it, rarely in our heads do we think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? That's us musicians. We only use the letters A through G. Okay, we're not trying to do heavy amounts of counting here. We then count this 6/8 typically as 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3. That is the measure, right? Let me go ahead and just put all eighth notes here real quick so you even better. Okay. Just it's of rest, right? Look at that. 3 beats. Because it's got an eighth note gets a beat, right? So it has a quarter rest, which is 2 eighth notes, right? And then one more little eighth note rest. But forget about the bass clef. Just look at the treble clef right now. You can see that there's 6 eighth notes, hence our meter. So we count that, like I said, in 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3. So we have these big beats, right? As you can hear me stress them. And then we have like the weaker beats, right? So a compound meter is when we've got the big beats like that and then the little beats, right? We're compounding some groups of stuff. So listen again. I'll stress the big beats. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, right? And if I were to keep counting, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. So even though I've got those 6/8 notes going on, I don't want to count them all. So I just break it into 2 groups of 3. Now, bonus points here as well. 6 is also divisible by what? Right? We already divided it into 2 groups of 3. How else could we divide that? Let me just tell you something really cool. And I think I'm going to have to go to this thing that says beaming somewhere. Oh gosh, it's been a minute since I didn't use the MuseScore. But it ain't bar lines, that's for sure. I thought there's something that says beams. Let me see if I can find it. Ah, beam properties. Boom. Okay, check this out. What am I doing? I'm going crazy. All right, almost done making the transformation. So, what I wanted to show you guys is instead of breaking it into 2 groups of 3, 6 is also divisible. Oh no, oh Lord. All right, imagine those 2 ones in the middle also have the beam on top, right? this is why I told you the beam can be used in different kind of ways. The important thing is that it has one beam. All right, an eighth note by itself don't got no beams. It's only one that's with more than one that's got a beam. So those middle guys are also eighth notes. They just got their little flaggies on them instead of beams. All right, so we can break the 6/8 as well into 3 groups of 2. Shut the front door. That's amazing. So that would sound like 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and uh. Now, the reason why you might want that as the eighth note getting the beat is if that goes by really fast, right? So you'd want a compound meter if you were having to deal with something that was going really fast and it's very difficult to count to 6 or 8 or 12 or whatever you need to. So instead you use those big beats, right? So let me show you how that could work. So just ignore the what I've notated here for a second and just use your ears. So if I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, dun, I still am going to keep the 6. I'll keep it here. 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. That one is breaking into 1, 2, 1, 2. Those are the big beats. And just so you know, those are each dotted quarters because a dotted quarter has 3 eighth note durations. That's crazy and awesome. Okay, and here, check it out. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 and 2 and cool, right? You can do some cool stuff if you're like, what? That's getting crazy into rhythms. Okay, so just briefly, I'm being a little long-winded about this. So let me go into a couple more other compound meters. We've got some crazy, not so danceable stuff like 7 eighth notes. I'm just going to delete this bottom part because I feel like it's confusing for now. All right, so 7 eighth notes. Let me just do this. I'm not beaming in none of them now. So you can count all 7. Oh, look, it just auto-beamed it. Auto-beamed it. Okay, but why that is a complex meter is because it's really hard, right, for us to count to 7. It's actually like very unnatural. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, right? We want the 8 is what our human instinct is. So we would break that into something like maybe this 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, right? So I'll show you if I were to change that instead of eighth notes to quarter, right? So you'd get 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, okay. Do you see how it still has like a big beat, right? I'm still having these big overlying beats, which is what makes it a compound meter. All right, let's do one more. It's the common blues meter, 12/8, 12/8, 2, 3. All right. So that sounds like, I slammed my keyboard down. That sounds like this. 2, 3, 4, and those are the eighth notes. 1, 2. I'll count to 12 just to show you I can do it, and then you'll see why we don't do that. We just use those big beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Who wants to count to 12? No one does. That's why we do 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and oh, I know a good song. I think that's in 4. I can't do it because it'll get cut out. But like Tennessee Whiskey, that's in 4. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and it's probably do without getting them muted. Okay, so enough about meters, right? There are simple and there are complex ones. And that is really what you need to know about that business. Okay? That gives you, now, the possibilities are endless. I think I once wrote a piece in like, I want to say it's like 37 4, like 37 quarter notes, and the quarter note gets a beat, but 37 notes per measure, right? That's kind of ridiculous. It was more like a philosophical thing. But yeah. And those can get, of course, a little bit more complex, but that's a lot of what you're gonna see, to be honest. All right, how we doing? How we doing? Oh, okay. So Shadow Legacy is saying, tell me about the metering of the pyramid song, which I played last week. Um, Let me take this off for a second. So that song, why it's super cool is that it essentially builds a pyramid with its meter. And so I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it does like um uh, it does a bar of 1/4, then a bar of 2/4, then a bar of 3/4, then back down to a bar of 2/4, and back down to 1. That could be incorrect in the exact numbers that the meters are, but the point is that Razy. Ooh, 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 1 1 2 1 2 3. It's something like that, but yeah, that's how much of a genius Radiohead is. And thank you for asking that, because that is like something super cool about that song that a lot of people probably don't catch. They're just like, it just sounds kind of weird. And actually, I'll show you how that would look. Just so now, I would have to custom type in a bar of 1 because it's just not very common. But it would look something kind of building a pyramid. Let me just delete these. Huh. See how it's just using the whole rest, no matter. But it would go like this. And that is something that you'll see in a lot of like more modern classical music is meter changes, like sometimes per measure. Um, so that would be counted if I counted exactly what I just did. Quarter note always gets a beat, right? So it'd be 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3. Right? I'm just counting how many is the top number, but I'm keeping that quarter note steady. Bougie, fancy stuff. All right, so moving on. Good job comprehending that. You basically now have a lot, like I'm going to go with somewhere around 75% of knowledge about how rhythm works in sheet music and music notation in general. So congrats. And now I'm going to move on to the pitch part of things we're going to talk about tonight. And just as a refresher, last week we learned about the staff, and here is, whoops, I just turned my own self off, my bad. There is the staff on the piano, right? So we talked about Every Good Boy Does Fine, Face, etc. And we talked about the bass clef and the good boys do fine always, and the ace, right? Helping us remember what the notes are. All right, without getting too crazy in depth in this, in the Western world, which we've mentioned in a couple episodes, we like major and minor scales. All right. And when something is based around, so like I'm just going to play random scale real quick. Okay, a scale is 8 notes until we get to the octave again, which if you remember our octave from our frequency studies, you can even think deeper about the octave, right? You know what's going on now with that craziness. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or /1, because I'm back at the octave. Oh, we like that. To get that, we have to do a certain pattern, right? And the shortest distance that we can go in music is called a half step. What that means is, let me actually just show you on the piano live because I think that's easier. Here, I'm just going to pick an arbitrary note, right? The shortest distance I can go is to that next black note there. Then the shortest next distance from that one is the white one. And then, right? So I'm including when there's the option of going to the black note, I'm including that. Those are all called a half step, right? That is the distance between them, and that is what we call them. Once again, just another random word. This happy little sound, the sound of this scale, it includes a certain amount of half steps, right? And it includes a certain amount of what we call whole steps, right? Back to our pizza analogy. It's the same kind of fractional math, right? We can use the KISS method over here. So we've got 2 halves equal what? A whole pizza. So if we have this half step, right, the shortest distance, and then I go one more half step, then if I started my original note, this guy, to this one is called a whole step. Okay, I am going to be getting into scales and some of that stuff a lot deeper at another point. So for now, I'll just straight memorize that there are patterns to equal. If I play only the white notes, it sounds not like that. So what I have to do is alter a certain note to get that pattern. That pattern, just in case you're curious, you can look it up, major and minor scale patterns. The major is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Very quickly, I'll show you. I'll start on D right here, okay? So 2 half steps is what I'm doing when I say whole. So for my first note, second note is a whole, whole. Notice I have to play that black note. Then a half step, shortest distance. Whole, whole. I have to alter that guy to half. When we have to alter something to fit that pattern, or you're trying to get to one of the black notes, which if you'll notice on this piano grand staff, I'm only including, these are only white notes, right? So if I started at the treble clef where it says D, okay, that sounds whack. It don't sound like our scale. And so to make us have access to the black notes on the staff, we use these things called sharps and flats. Okay, so a sharp means that we are raising the note up by half steps. So for instance, if I am playing this note right here, okay, and I think it looks backwards for you guys. It looks like I'm going down, but I'm actually going up with myself. So sorry about that, but same concept. All right. So if you're going up in pitch, you're raising a note up to a black note or the next half step. It is called a sharp, and that is, what do we call it nowadays? The hashtag symbol, right? The number sign. So if this is C right here, if I take it up one half step, it now is C sharp. Okay? So let me show you. Let me get my muse score back up for you guys. And I'll show you what that would look like. I'm just going to put these all in 4/4. We're just going to go to happy 4/4. I don't know why we need to see all of them. Whatever. All right. So, for example, here is a C, right? Because we can count the spaces. F-A-C. It's on our third space. Now, next to it, I'm going to show you what a C sharp looks like. So there's my C. I'm going to raise it up a half step. And now it is a C sharp, right? So you say the note name first, C, and then what's been done to it, a C sharp. Okay? Now, the opposite of going up one step, C was a horrible note to use as an example. I'm going to use A. All right, there's A and A sharp, right? If I were to instead, that's two A's, right? Just two normal, A, same note. If I were to go down, holy cow, that's called a flat. So it looks like a weird B, and these sharps or flats are always going to come before the note, right? But that is taking it down a half step. So instead of, you guys can hear the difference. There's our regular A. Let me show you on the piano now, just so you can see. A is right here. It's going to look like I am going the reverse direction, but just trust me on it. So listen to the pitch going higher and lower. Going up one note, that's A sharp, okay? Going down one half step is A flat. All of these are A's. A, right? Same thing with G. G, here's G, regular old G right here. G sharp, right? G flat is there. Now, if you're smarty pants, you can realize, wait up, Ashleigh. You said some crazy thing because you played this guy when you said A, and you also played this guy when you said G. You guys, that's a thing, okay? It's called N, like E-N, harmonic. That is, once again, just another bougie vocabulary word for what's happening there. And that means that sometimes we're going to need to use a sharp, and sometimes it's going to make more sense to use a flat. So sometimes in a song, I would want to use A sharp are the same note, right? They are called enharmonic. Same thing, let's look at another one, D, right? D sharp. Okay, that is sharps and flats. They just raise or lower things by a half step. Now, back to our pretty pattern. If you're still with me, do like, I don't know. So back to my muse score. We use the key of C a lot because to get that beautiful little pattern, we don't got to do nothing. We have no sharps or flats to make our whole half, or yes, the pattern of the major scale. Whole half. But other notes, if we start on, it does not work out. We have to, just like I showed that other one, like something sounds weird about it. So we had to do something. So the key of, when we say the key of, that means whatever note is the kind of like foundational note, right, of the scale. All right, this the one of our 8-note scale. So C has no sharps or flats. You can just play the white keys, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and it sounds so beautiful. Here's our beautiful major, C major. Like I said, that does not happen in every other key. That requires what we call a key signature, okay? So when you're looking at a piece of music, you're always going to get your clef first. Then you're going to get your meter or your time signature. And you're also going to get your key signature. That comes between the clef and the time signature. And right here, if you'll count up, what did I just do? I put it in the key of G. All right. Don't think about why is it the key of G yet. Just know that I just put us in the key of G. So what that means is instead of being in the key of C, where C is our root note of C, D, M. Now, instead of starting here, I'm going to start on this one. And listen to it without any sharps or flats, which we also call accidentals. That note sounds not right, right? It needs to be. All right, so if you remember our Every Good Boy Does Fine, the top line is what note? Fine, F. And that is telling us that instead of playing a regular old white note F, we are always going to be playing instead an F sharp. Okay, so listen now if I play that same scale starting now on G with an F sharp. Oh my gosh, it sounds so awesome. And if you'll notice on the bass clef is also an F sharp. So that's letting you know that is in the key of G. I'll get to Y in a minute, but for now, just know that you have to alter things. So let me show you another situation. All right. There is our first key that has flats. Okay. So every good boy does fine. E, G, B is what line we're on. So now I know instead of playing regular old B, every time I have a B in this piece of music, it's going to be a B flat instead. Because, listen, here's me. This is actually the key of F. Don't worry, I'm going to tell y'all in a minute how to figure out what key is what. But listen to it without the B flat. So here's me playing, starting at F, a regular old B. Right? So this is F, G, A, regular old B sounds whack. C, D, E, F, everything else sounds fine. So here it is with the B flat now instead of B. F, G, A, B flat. Oh, it sounds right. C, D, E, F. Okay, great. Check this bad boy out. All right, those are, so we start increasing, right? Because the keys I just showed you, G only has one sharp that we need, which is the F sharp we talked about. And this key right here only needs one flat to make it sound right and fit the pattern right, which is the B flat. Turns out that to start on other notes, you're going to need a lot more of those bad boys. So let's see. This is the key of E, right? So here's if I start on E. All right, once again, I'll play you if I don't do any sharps. So just white notes, starting on E. It sounds not right. Now here is me playing instead of just all the white notes. I'm going to include all the sharps it tells me, which is an F sharp, a C sharp, a G sharp, and a D sharp. Here's how that sounds. E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. Right? So that's what we mean when we're saying we're in the key of something. It just means that we are starting, that's kind of like the foundation, right? The one of our scale, whatever key it's in. So this is E major. So E is the start of our scale. And we have to have these certain amount of sharps to make it sound like the major scale pattern. Here goes another guy. All right, there's something with 4 flats. All right, this happens to be the key of A flat. Right? And I just played all, including all those flats that it told me. And that's what makes it sound so lovely, like our pattern that we're used to hearing in the Western world. Okay, so you're doing so great. All right. 1 second. I don't know where my chat bar just disappeared. It just went away. Okay, well, if you got something to say in the chat, I won't be seeing it. Oh, wait, there it goes. It's back. Okay, lovely. Successfully connected. All right, so I want to show you something that's like the holy grail of music notation. And it is called the circle of fifths. All right, this is something that you're going to want to familiarize yourself with just in general. I'm not always a big fan of just memorizing stuff, but to be honest, this is something that's probably easier to just memorize. But let me tell you what it is first, and then we'll go into the why it is. And then once again, we'll conclude that it's best to just memorize it. All right, so as you can see at the top of our circle is C major. That pink thing says C, and then there's the major keys going around in a circle. There is the key signatures on the outer circle. So as you can see for C, there are no sharps or flats because why? We talked about it just makes that lovely pattern. Okay? Looking at the colored circles where it says major keys, I'm going up by a fifth, right? An interval of a fifth. Interval is probably something I'll get to a little bit next time, but it's just a leap. Just like our leap day, I am jumping from here to here. Dun, dun. We've talked about fifths some in the frequency stuff, right? So if you'll recall, that's actually a ratio of frequencies. We talked about that in the harmonic overtone series. So I'm going around the circle. If you're going in a clockwise direction, I'm going from C to G, which is the fifth, and then I just keep going in fifths. I'm just jumping my fifths. Okay, so C to G is a fifth, G to D is a fifth, D to A is a fifth, A. Okay, that is why it is called the circle of fifths, right? But something beautiful happens with the circle of fifths when we're jumping by fifth as our starting note, right? The one of our scale. And it actually ends up resulting in the key signatures in order from least amount of sharps or flats to most amount. Okay? So if now look at the key signatures. So C has no sharps or flats. Let's go clockwise. G has 1 sharp required. F sharp. D, if I start on D to get it to the major, it has 2 that it needs, which is F sharp and C sharp. Okay, the next one, A. A has now 3 sharps that it needs to make that pattern. E, 4. B, 5, right? I'm using 5 black keys, as you can see on my hands, because I've got B, C sharp, D sharp, E, regular old E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B. Okay, if we keep going, it gets nuts. F sharp, and then, of course, D sharp, right, with like a ridiculous amount. Please don't write pieces in those keys, or it's just cruel. Actually, it's not too cruel, but it kind of is. So those are our major keys on the outer colored circle, jumping by fifths and adding 1 sharp at a time, right? If we go counterclockwise, let's start at C again, okay? That ends up actually, if I'm going the C to the F, right, I'm going down by fifths now, if I'm going counterclockwise, okay? And that is now starting from keys that require 1 flat, which is F, as you can see. Then if I keep going down a fifth, 2 flats, B flat major, E flat major, requires 3, A flat requires 4 flats. Then, Ashleigh, why does it say D flat and C sharp? D flat, and here's C sharp. Those are the same notes. They're in harmonics, just like we talked about. So that's why there's 2 on those bottom kind of key signatures, because they can go either way. And that's why there is showing you a key signature with sharps and showing you a key signature with flats, because it depends on what you want to be using. In the middle colored circle, there are minor keys, okay? So the major keys, we've talked about this a little bit before, sound happy. All right. Every major key has its buddy, its friend, minor, right? It's like Jekyll and Hyde. It's the same person, right? It has the same key signature. It's just that we start on a different note, because the pattern of a minor scale, 8-note, minor 8-note scale, is different, right? C is the easiest one to show you because it has no sharps or flats. So here is me starting on C. Okay. If I go down what we call the interval of the third, don't think too much about it. It's just a leap. I'm leaping down to A. Then I can play what's called the A minor. Right? The sad. Which one's Jekyll or Hyde? I don't know which one's the bad guy. But anyways. So every major key has its Jekyll and Hyde moment where it has the same key signature, right? But one is the starting the interval a third lower, and that becomes the minor key, right? That's a difference between, here's like C major, right? No sharps or flats. All right, now here's no sharps or flats, me playing an A minor. Okay, don't think too much about it. Just know that it exists, right? It'll make sense. One day you'll be doing something and you'll be like, holy crud. Crud. I get that. All right, so that's why on that inner color full circle, we're seeing the corresponding minor keys that have also the same. So if we're looking at G, right, here's G major with the 1 F sharp. Here is E minor. It also has just an F sharp to sound like it needs to. There's my E, F sharp, G, A, B, C. Now, there's actually 3 kinds of minor chords, or 3 kinds of minor scales. That's besides the point. Okay, for all practical purposes, we're talking about 1 minor scale right now. I'm not going to try and confuse y'all because that's enough for you to know at this moment. All right, last thing I want to talk about with that is that there is an acronym to remember the order of these, and it is the word BEAD, B-E-A-D, and then this is super nerdy, greatest common factor, like in math. So BEADGCF. And that is actually going counterclockwise. So if I'm just going to go real quick because we are running long tonight. B flat is the first flat that's added counterclockwise. Then we add E flat, then A flat, then D flat to the mix. And if you'll notice, they are listed in that order when we add them. Then G flat, C flat, F flat. Okay. If you reverse that little acronym, you'll get the order of the sharps. Last but not least, how do you know what key you're in? Well, the ones that just have 1 sharp and 1 flat, it's best to just memorize them. But from there on, actually on the sharp side of things, if you go a half step up from the last sharp of your key signature, you will know what key you're in. So let's look at G. It's got that F sharp, right? There's the F sharp. If I go 1 half step up from F sharp, it's G. That tells me what key I'm in, right? A half step up. So let's look at one more. Let's look at A, right? It has an F sharp, a C sharp, and a G sharp. That last sharp is a G sharp. If I go 1 half step up, it's A. So that's how you can figure out what key you're in with sharps. Flats, it's the second to the last flat, right? Except for F, which you just got memorized. But B flat, so the last flat in B flat is an E flat. The one before that is a B flat. That tells us we're in B flat. E flat, all right, looking at that one. The last one is an A flat, but the second to the last is an E flat. I'm going really fast now because I just realized how long we're going. Okay, so last I'm just going to show you... I think I showed you everything, actually. I showed you it all. You guys know everything now. That's it. That's all. You've learned all music notation. No, I'm just kidding. But I will save my last topic I was going to get into just because I did not even know we've been going on this long. Hopefully that time was worth it to like really make things make sense for you all. So check out your keys this week. Check out your dotted things. Check out meters and compound meters. And next week, I will get into dynamics and some of the other symbols that are in music notation. But for now, I think, geez, we're at 8:24. It's the longest stream ever. Get a Gatorade or a Powerade. I have to drink water because it's so long of a stream. Okay. Lastly, before I play you guys some covers, here's the philosophical part of tonight. Basically, a robot could read these rhythms and could read these pitches and could perfectly read sheet music and all of the symbols that are on it. So if a robot can do that, what is it that humans can do that a robot cannot do, and what makes it move us? And we have things like emotions, and we have a little bit of slowing it down or making it quieter, softer. The human element is what makes it music. And I always tell students when I'm teaching at the collegiate level, I'm like, okay, please come into your lesson with your music learned. I want you to already know all your notes and rhythms because then we can start making music. And I'll just leave you guys with that kind of philosophical moment. All right. Good job. You made it through. Hit me up if you have any questions. You can always email me or shoot me a message on Instagram or Facebook. And I hope that that all made sense. I'm really trying hard to break this down efficiently and also like, where it's makes sense. All right, here is some covers for you guys. I'm going to do I think I'll just do one actually. We're going to shorten it up and then we'll hit up the meditation so you guys can get out of here cuz we all, I'm sure, composing your own music and it will actually play it back for you. So you could literally just click in a bunch of rhythms and be like, I composed this piece. And you can hear what it sounds like. So that's pretty cool. All right. The cover I'm going to play for you guys tonight is by the Bugles, and it is called Video Killed the Radio Star. And why I wanted to play it tonight is because back in the day, you could say the radio star killed the sheet music star. Because a lot of people historically used to entertain themselves by playing sheet music. It used to sell like wildfire, like hotcakes. And people would sit around the piano and they would sing songs. And like when something came out on sheet music, it was like a big deal. And so we kind of lost some of that when the radio came along. And then, of course, when the video element was added to music, it just really I'm not saying that it is wrong that we have such a visual element to music and musicians nowadays. But I am just saying that it wasn't always like that. Um, I'm for change. I think we're going into like a virtual submersive situation that we can do some really cool stuff with visuals, but there is something beautiful about looking at sheet music and just listening to music without any visual um, stimulation. All right, so video kill the radio star. Then we out for a meditation. Hey, Jamie, what's up? Oh, yes, yes, not resist the emotions. I think that's one beautiful thing about music and art in general is that it's kind of the way in which our society is allowed to feel some things like angst or anger or sadness or just like bliss, the positive emotions too. But a lot of people give themselves a hall pass to feel when they're listening to music. And so I think, yeah, that's definitely one beautiful thing about the human element with music and that a robot could not do is like, oh, this song makes me weep or this song heals me or that type of stuff. So you know it, girl. You on it. You a queen too, y'all. I love you guys. Here goes Video Kill the Radio Star. Nerd out on some sheet music this week. And then we'll meditate. And I wish you guys a beautiful rest of your week. I invite you to just get comfortable. To join me here tonight. Notice your breath. And if you haven't today, take your first full, deep breath in, all the way filling up to your belly and out. breathe in, imagine a beautiful beam of light filling your body from head to toe. And when you breathe out, let out anything that does not serve you. Give it to the earth for it to be recycled into something new. Let's do one more big breath in of warm light. Let it fill up your heart. And breathe out. Just let go of all the things today that your eyes saw, that your ears heard. And let your thoughts float like clouds across the sky. In music, we have notes that make sounds, but equally as important are the rest, the silence, the stillness. I invite you to notice the stillness just between your inhale and your exhale. See if you can find that brief moment of time where you're neither inhaling nor exhaling. As you breathe, pay attention to those short moments of rest, of stillness. No matter how busy or loud the world gets around us, there are always those beautiful sacred moments of rest. The space between our thoughts, just let yourself continue to observe those spaces for a brief moment. begin. Wiggle your toes and your fingers. And open your eyes. May you know that balance is always there. The sound and the silence